So this will actually be a two-part series. This is just going to be a basic tutorial on how to pass in college football 26. The other tutorial, which will be a more in-depth tutorial, is how to become a better passer in college football 26. Basically showing you how to pass like a pro would pass in college football. And you can even take that on to Madden. But right now, I'm just going to get into the basics of passing in college football 26, show you the different mechanics, the different settings you can use, and just certain tactics that are very, very basic that will get you a long way in college football 26. So without further ado, let's go right ahead and get into it. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick play out of empty. Let's go with divide double in. And then I'll pick a random play on defense. First and foremost, we're going to get into the pass meter. Right now, I'm using Revamped passing. As a matter of fact, you know what? Before I get into that, let's go ahead and show you the settings. So settings, you want to go check out your pass mechanics. And right now, I have mine set on Revamped passing. Pass slowdown is off. Pass lead is small. Reticle speed 7, user only, which a lot of this is more or less for the placement and accuracy. So if you scroll over to placement, you'll see placement enables you to control the placement and the power of the pass. If you were to go over to placement and accuracy, it enables you to control the placement and the accuracy. And it's all based on the reticle and the reticle distance. So I'll get more in depth in all of those in just a minute. Right now, I'm going to go back to Revamp. And there's also classic passing, which is the classic passing method that you've been used to for years in college football and Madden. But right now, I'm using Revamp passing, which is what I use primarily. So while using Revamp passing, I'm going to show you what Revamp passing is like. So basically with Revamp passing, it's a meter, just like in 2K with 2K shot meter. And you have 3 different colors. Previously, the colors was blue, yellow, and red. Now the red is an orange, but blue signifies a perfect pass. Yellow signifies a still accurate pass, but slightly inaccurate, but still catchable. And orange would be an inaccurate or errant pass. So right now, I'm going to show you what that looks like. So say, for instance, I want to pass to A. You can see I held the button just long enough that it would be a perfect pass. You hold it too long, it will go yellow, which would look something like this. See? So yellow is still an accurate pass. It's just not a perfect pass. It's not perfectly accurate, like say so right here. Jesus, why did he get caught up behind the line? So as you can see, even with all that madness that took place, I still was able to get off a perfect pass. In order to throw a terrible pass, an inaccurate pass, you would have to do something egregious like this. Like I would have to run all the way over here and throw like that. And as you can see, the orange meter popped up. That means that's an errant pass. Let's try it again. So you see, that's an errant pass. It got picked off. It was nowhere near where the receiver would be able to catch it. Let's do that again. But this is basically what you'd have to do. You'd have to do something like this. But then again, I am using Cade Klubnik. If you use somebody who isn't a great QB, who has poor accuracy, you're more susceptible to have that orange meter pop up in different instances. But with somebody like Cade Klubnik, like right here, I'm holding the meter all the way down. I'm holding the button all the way down. And as you can see, it's still not an inaccurate pass. It's just a slightly accurate pass. Not slightly accurate, but medium accurate pass, which would be yellow. But if I hold it just right, like so, boom, you see it's a perfect pass. In order to throw an errant pass, you really have to be a pretty terrible person or use a sorry quarterback and do something like this, like I said. And as you can see, orange meter, inaccurate pass. Now, another thing I want to point out, and I pointed this out last year in my passing tutorial for college football 25. They made it seem like just because you had this meter in for revamp passing and everything like that, that bullet passes and lob passes were a thing of the past. That's incorrect. You can still throw a bullet pass. You can still throw a lob pass, and the meter will be perfectly fine. Like I'll show you right here. I'll throw to A. I'll throw a bullet pass to him. So I just held the button all the way down and threw a bullet pass to him. It wasn't an inaccurate pass. It wasn't a perfect pass, but it wasn't an inaccurate pass. I'll do it again. Look, held it all the way down, threw a bullet pass. Now I can throw a lob pass to A, but I'm gonna throw the lob pass deep to X, just so you can see what that looks like, and just so you can see that it's still a perfect pass. So we'll drop back, lob pass, and as you can see, even though it was out of bounds, it was still blue. It was still a perfect pass. Let's do it again. So we're gonna lob it up again. As you can see, it's still blue. Now that was picked off, but it's just an example to show you that you can still throw a lob pass, you can still throw a bullet pass. Now I'm gonna throw a lob pass to A across the middle just to show you it doesn't have to be deep. It can be underneath. So there you go, lob pass, boom. So it's easy as that. So you can still throw a lob pass, you can still throw a bullet pass, and it won't penalize you. The only time you'll be penalized is if you do something egregious like run right to the line and try to, oh, I got sacked that time. I'll do it again. But say you run straight to the line and then you decide you want to throw across your body. That's when you're going to get an inaccurate pass, or if you're using a low-rated quarterback. And one last thing in this tutorial before I get into the settings or the demonstration of the settings for placement and accuracy is pass leading. That is key in passing in College Football 26. That is key in passing in Madden. You want to make sure you always lead your receiver, whether it's leading it in front of the receiver with the defender trailing behind them, or leading it behind the receiver, basically throwing a back shoulder fade. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when you just press the icon of the receiver you're passing to, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like when you pass lead that receiver. So we're going to just press A for A coming across the middle. So we just pressed A. He threw a good pass. He threw it right in front of him. But say that defender was right on his hip pocket and you wanted to lead him a little further out. You would use the left stick to angle that pass in front of that receiver as far as possible, and then you would throw it to that receiver. So it would look like something like this. So boom. See, that was more way out in front of that receiver versus the first one when I just pressed his icon and it threw it just right there, right in front of him. This threw it way in front of him. Let's do it again. So boom, way out in front of the receiver. So that's why it is important to pass lead your receiver. Because if your defender is on his hip pocket or he's right in front of him, look, like say so, or I could pass lead up. See, he cut off his route and went directly up the field. That's because I used the left stick to angle it upwards to make him go up the field. So let's do it again. Oh, I got hit that time. So let's do it again, depending on what the defender does. Let's see. So the defender is on his hip pocket pretty much, led it right in front of him. Now let's try a back shoulder pass. So right now, I'm going to throw it to X on the outside, but I'm not going to use the left stick. So we're going to drop back, throw it to X. You see, he threw it right up the field, basically threw it right on the route. So now we're going to angle it towards the sideline for a back shoulder pass. Like that. Now it got broken up, but you see the difference. Before, when I just pressed the icon, he threw it straight up the field on his route. That time I angled the left stick towards the sideline and he threw a back shoulder fade. And that is the importance of knowing how to perform a pass lead. So I just showed you across the middle. Also, if you want to throw it behind a receiver, so say I wanted to throw it behind A, like say so. That's what it would look like if I threw it behind, if I led behind him. Like say he passed across that linebacker and there was another linebacker right there in front of him, and I wanted to put it to where only he could get it and not that linebacker. That's what it would look like in this instance. See, that other defender was in front of him. I threw it behind him. He had to turn around to catch it. But if I passed it normal, like say so, as you can see, he just passes it just in front of him so he can catch it. And that's why it is important to use pass lead mechanics in College Football 26. Now, lastly, I'm going to go ahead and get into some placement demonstration and some placement and accuracy demonstration. So we're going to go to the settings and we're going to go to placement. I'll show you what that looks like. So placement has a reticle and you can control that reticle speed when you move it, how fast it moves, whether it's slower, whether it's faster, etc. And then you'll have this pass lead distance, which is you have small, medium, and large. Small typically keeps that reticle inside that little shaded circle. Medium allows that reticle to travel a little bit further outside of that circle. Large enables you to throw it a lot further away from that circle. And that's where placement and accuracy would come into play. So right now we're going to put it on placement. We're going to leave the pass lead distance at small, and just show you what that looks like, the difference between that and revamped passing. So here we go. As you can see, boom. Now there's a shaded circle and there's that reticle that I was telling you about. Now you angle that reticle with the left stick. And like I said, it all depends on the speed that you have it set on. Right now, it's fairly fast at a 7. So I can move that reticle like, boom. See, I moved it slightly up, but it's hard to tell because I got the speed up there. But you can see that it's not allowing that reticle to travel outside of that shaded circle. That's because we have the pass lead distance set to small. So it's only a smaller window that it allowed that to travel outside. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like when you change it. Again, before I change the settings and go show you what medium and large looks like, placement is simply based off of enabling you to control the placement and the power of the pass, leaving the accuracy up to the rating. But placement and accuracy puts the placement and the accuracy completely in your control. So now I'm going to go change the settings. We're going to go to placement and oh, why did I change the difficulty level? Okay, so now we're going to change it to placement and accuracy. And I'm going to show you that it's pretty much the same as placement. It's just the accuracy is more in your control and not the rating. So again, using that left stick, boom, moving the reticle. It doesn't get outside of that shaded circle. We'll do it again because the distance is set to small. Damn, they getting all kinds of pressure. So distance set to small. Got the reticle, and I'll even move it behind them just so you can see what that looks like. Because right now I'm just leading to the left. I'll even move it behind them. But you've seen me moving that reticle around. That way, see, I made it a point to kind of like move the left stick in a circle just to show you what it looks like for that reticle to be fully in your control. Boom, see? So that's how that works. And this is placement and accuracy. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like when you change that distance to medium, how much further outside that circle you can go. So we change it to medium. Now watch how much further it goes. See, now it moves further outside of that circle and not being restricted to just inside of that shaded circle. So, and you see, that's why it's key to know exactly how to play with placement and accuracy. If you're not ready to fully control that quarterback and his passes with the placement and accuracy, then that will lead to you having a long game and long games going forward. So let's do that again. So let's, boom. See, it was a lot further out in front. The receiver had to extend a lot more because it lets it travel a further distance. So let's take a look at, let's say we go, oh my goodness. But you see, placement and accuracy enabled me to fit that over that linebacker's head. If I was to be throwing with like revamped passing, which is I'm perfectly fine with. I use revamped passing. I used to use placement and accuracy. But if I was using revamped passing, chances are that linebacker is breaking that up. So let's try this again. And look, that was in a lot better position for that receiver, for only that receiver to get to it. And that's the biggest advantage to using placement and accuracy, is that you can place the ball in spots where only your receiver can get it and not the DB. Whereas other mechanics like revamped passing, classic passing, there's limitations towards it. So now I'm going to show you what it looks like when you have the distance set to large. So now watch how far outside that circle it goes. You see how far that extends? Now, if you can control it and you get used to this, this is game changing because you can put that pass where only your receiver can get to it. It's just you got to be really quick with it. Or you could just slow down the speed of the pass lead. So that's why I say it takes work. It takes practice. But if you're not up for the task, simply just use classic passing or use revamped passing. But that's going to do it for this passing tutorial. Like I said, this is real basic. This is just showing you mechanics, settings, tips on leading receivers, what the colors mean on the meter. And also, that's another thing I failed to mention. Also, the inaccurate or errant passes being thrown isn't just like you running towards a defensive lineman and throwing across your body or having a quarterback with a low rating. This also can depend on the ratings of the quarterback. So say, for instance, like throw under pressure is like a 68. Well, if you have a defender in your face, chances are you're going to be more likely to throw an inaccurate or errant pass, which would be the orange color. But if you're somebody like Cade Klubnik, who has a higher rating against pressure, then you're still going to throw a perfect pass or a slightly inaccurate pass, which would be blue or yellow. So keep that in mind when using Revamped Passing, using that meter, that the colors blue is for perfect pass, yellow is slightly inaccurate, orange is inaccurate, and it all depends on ratings and also context of passing, where you're at on the field. So that's going to do it for this tutorial. Again, stay tuned for the Become a Better Passer in College Football 26. That's where I get more in depth and show you how to throw like a pro. But until then, if you're here for the first time or you're returning and you haven't liked or subscribed already, please do so. Click that notification tab so you can stay up to speed with more College Football 26 tutorials, tips, tricks, content, you name it, we have it here. Again, I appreciate you all for tuning in. That's been my time. Till next time. Peace.